Hey everyone, welcome to the Life, Love, and Money Show pop-up. Hey Jen.
Thanks for being here. And thanks for those of you who are joining us. And if you are catching the replay, make sure to type in the comments, #replay, and just say hi.
Yeah, absolutely. So today we're going to be talking about don't let discouragement steal your dream. So I think it's really important to go over what discouragement is first. Okay, so let's just jump into this. And so what is discouragement? It's a loss or a loss of confidence or enthusiasm. So what could be the reason or the reasons why you're becoming discouraged and why you're allowing that to steal your dreams? So there's lots of different reasons. You want me to just jump right into this, Jen?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Awesome. So it might be that, and fill in the blanks here, folks, and throw up your comments, and Jen, fill in the blanks as well. But it might be that there was a life situation that got in the way of your progress. It may be that you're comparing where you're at, where others are at, and that's a biggie that I see with a lot of people. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Right? Or which might be resulting in discouragement, or there could be a myriad of other reasons, or maybe just life kind of is like feeling like, oh, I'm drowning, I don't know what to do, and I'm feeling discouraged. That could happen too.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be an ongoing thing, and it could be something that just happened 5 minutes ago and you're dwelling on it. So it could be something that has been a situation in existence for a while, and it just isn't something that's making you feel good. Or it could be like you just, your tire went out, or it could be, all your meetings got canceled, or it could even just be something that was very spontaneous and just happen, and it could get you down. And it depends. There's so many factors that, don't you notice that there's some days where everything just irritates? I mean, even CJ, he'll be like, "Are you okay? What happened?" I was like, "Why?" And I always want to hear his answer. And he did this to me the other day in the car. And I was like, "Why?" Because I wanted to see his assessment. And he was like, "Because you just seem irritated at everything." And it's funny because he'll call me out on stuff. So I'm just like, yeah, he will. That's cool. Yeah, we're so close. Yeah. That we're very in tune with each other, and he's just like, yeah, you just seem irritated at everything. and I'll be like, yeah, you're right, and it'll make me change how I'm showing up and what I'm doing. So it's those things. And then there's days where you're just like, all right, no big deal. And it could even be as simple as how you woke up, how the morning started. I mean, but man, anything can throw us off and cause us to become discouraged.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it can be the weather, because a lot of people get impacted by the weather as well. Yes. And just feeling down. And so remember, we talked about this earlier, but don't catastrophize things. It's not an all or nothing. It's not a whole general thing. It's never enough or everything, right? Think of it in bits and pieces. It might just be the day. It might just be the weather. It might just be something that threw you off, like lack of sleep. I can tell you yesterday, I had lack of sleep, and every time I went into the kitchen, my husband would go into the kitchen. He would come up from the basement and come into the kitchen while I was in the kitchen. And I was like, what are you doing in here? At the same time I'm here. And he's like, well, this is my house too. I'm like, can I ever be in this kitchen alone? And it was just the littlest things.
All right, I gotta stop and pause. They have like a massive house, so that's why I think this is so funny. Like they won't even run into each other during the day, and the one time they're in the kitchen,
every time. And it's like my husband's domain. I swear, because I'm rarely in there because he's always the one cooking the food, right? Yeah. Unless I'm like, I have like my green tea or something, right? And all I wanted to do was like make a lean cuisine, and there he is, like reaching over me and reaching around me. I'm like, oh, can I just have a moment?
Were you hungry too when you were in the kitchen?
I was just exhausted. So I had gotten about 3.5, 4 hours of sleep. And for me, I know myself, when I don't get enough sleep, it's like, get out in my way.
You were slang Greek.
Slang deprived and angry. That's right. And he's like, okay. And I was like, thank you. I just need 5 minutes. Seriously, that's like all I need. So, hilarious. So, oh my gosh. So here's the thing, folks. Remember, it's just a moment sometimes. Sometimes it's, an escalation of things. But remember, don't let that take away that feeling of encouragement or become discouraged. So a couple of things I do want to touch on really quickly, some strategies about how you can kind of, minimize that feeling of discouragement. Just first of all, stop and reflect on the steps that you have taken to get where you are today. And that is so important. You don't want to blow it all in a second, right? Because you've taken so much time and so much energy and so much, to get where you are today. Ask yourself why you would let anyone or anything steal your dreams, and why would you sabotage yourself? Yeah. Why would you want to do that? I mean, honestly, these are your dreams. So don't let anybody take that away from you, or don't sabotage yourself. Get out of the way of yourself and just have the moment, feel the moment, breathe through the moment, and you'll get through the moment. And then also go back to your vision and see if your passion still holds the same strong vision and goals and value for you, because that's a time where in reality, in all that you've done with this vision and setting your goals and meeting those goals, is it just the day? Is it just the moment? Or is it something that really you just need to re-strategize about?
Yeah.
And then I think the last one I would say is, this is a biggie, don't compare yourself to others.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Because your journey, our journey is organically different than someone else's. It just naturally is. So when people compare, I always roll my eyes, because I'm like, do you know that we're apples and oranges? Do you know that there's just so many things that influence each of our lives differently, that there's just no reason to compare? Yeah, I get, like, you want to look at something and say, oh, okay, I kind of like what she's doing there. I kind of like, but I'm going to do it differently. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
So, I just
I'll add too, one of the things that I love, and I've talked about this, The Gap in the Gain, that book, one of my favorites that I've read in the past year, and by Dan Sullivan, and I forget the other guy's name. I forget.
Hardy? Is it Hardy?
Yeah, Hardy, but I can't remember. This is like that. This
Dr. Hardy.
Yeah.
Psychologist.
Oh, Benjamin Hardy.
That's it. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. And he's a psychologist.
Yeah.
And it's so well written, very simple, but it and I love it. And so I turned Summer onto it, because it's like, oh, they got like technical, clinical terms in there. And it's such a wonderful book that it has actually made me stop and pause and go like, you know what? Am I operating in the gap? Am I operating in the gain? And these examples that you just gave, Summer, there are many times I've been in that myself. And then now I'm able to look at it and go like, okay, I'm living in the gap, and that's not where you want to be. So, we always have a choice, and Summer calls that our superpower. We always have the choice of how do we want to show up? How do we want to move forward? So yes, you get discouraged. Okay, well, how long do you want to stay there? How can you turn it around? Right. And that's fine. Have your pity party, and we can all do that. But some of us choose to get out of it within 30 seconds. And some of us decide to stay in there for 30 years. What do you want to do?
And I have got to jump in here, because you just mentioned a point where I didn't touch on that I wanted to touch on.
Yeah, please.
It's so good. It has to do with what you just said. Rather than being bogged down in your thoughts and getting stuck in that funk, right? Jump into action. Jump into action. Don't stay there. Just jump into that action rather than staying there. It makes such a difference. Do you get that, Jen? I mean, like, have you been there, Jen? And you're like, okay, I'm not going to stay at this point. I'm going to go exercise. I got to go take a walk.
Oh my gosh.
I got to go right?
Yeah. This is exactly why it's even more important to have routine and habits. Because, for example, I hit the gym by 6 a.m. Sometimes it's 5 a.m. depending, like there's something I had to be at 8 or something like that. No matter how I'm feeling, no matter how I'm feeling, especially when I have to schedule it ahead of time and I get penalized if I don't. I have to pay it's kind of like those doctor's offices that charge you $25 for a no-show.
Yeah.
So no matter how I'm feeling, I show up. Yeah. And then it just automatically forces me. I mean, it's volunteer, it's my own choice, but I'm forced to just be there. And now that I got the endorphins going, I'm in a different environment. I'm not thinking as much about, it doesn't really totally go away, especially if it's a situation I can just put aside for that hour, but my mood has changed. I feel differently. I'm not in that funk as much. So excellent point, Summer, taking action, just changing the environment of what you're thinking, what you're dealing with, what's in front of you, and moving and doing something. It's amazing how that can change your perspective on what's currently happening in your head.
And I think Jen and I both do that in different ways, but I think that sometimes we get down and then we just keep going. And it's not because we're trying to ignore our feelings or kind of mask things. It's we'd rather just jump into it and get past the funk, right? And so it just works for us. So you got to figure out what works for you.
I laugh because it's like, damn it, if I'm gonna be in a funk, I better be productive while I'm in the funk.
Right, I know, right? We're just so driven. It's just like overachievers. So
yeah, at least when I get out of the funk, those things got done.
Right.
And then I don't feel as bad, because if I was in the funk doing jack, I'll come out of it and be like, man, now I'm really behind.
I know.
Yeah.
Seriously, we are. And that's a high achiever for you, girl. That's a high achiever. I think we are both there. That's exactly what we're thinking. Like, gosh, okay, we might not feel good, but we got to do those, right? So anyway, but the last thing I will say though, too, is if you do find yourself stuck there and you just can't move out of it, seek some support. That's really helpful. There's always support out there for you. So if you're feeling that discouraged, please, please, please know that there's always support out there for you.
Absolutely. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us for our pop-up. And if you have anything that you could contribute, we'd love to hear. What do you do when you're discouraged? Type that below. I'd love to find out if there's anything that we missed. What would you like to add to it? And don't forget, we have our YouTube channel, The Life of a Money Show. Make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you also know about any upcoming videos that have just been uploaded. All right. Thanks, everybody, for being here.
Bye.
Thanks.